Recorded Books presents A Synthesizing Mind, a memoir from the creator of multiple intelligences theory, by Howard Gardner, narrated by Winton. Introduction. I knew things were different as soon as I walked into the room. It was the fall of 1984, and I had been invited by the National Association of Independent Schools to speak at its annual conference. The venue was the Hilton Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. I had been asked to speak about my recently published book, Frames of Mind, The Theory of Multiple Intelligences. A researcher and occasional teacher in psychology, I was already an experienced lecturer. I had written many scholarly and popular articles, a number of books and textbooks, and had even won some awards. My new book had gotten considerable attention, and I had already given a few talks on the topic, both before and after the book's publication date in September 1983. As I made my way down the hallway and into the lecture hall, I noted that the room was completely filled, even overflowing, and as soon as I walked in, the pre-lecture buzz abruptly ceased. In the suddenly hushed environment, I observed people gesturing toward me as the chatter gradually resumed at a much lower volume. When I was introduced, I was met by a round of applause, unusual in academic settings at that time. During the lecture, many in the audience seemed held in rapt attention, much more so than at standard conference talks where wandering to and fro and shuffling papers audibly are the norm. And after the talk, I was asked to sign a lot of books. This was decades before the advent of the selfie or the Kindle. My intimation was correct. The publication of a book about the theory of multiple intelligences had changed my life forever. Before, I had been a research psychologist plying my trade. Now I was the author of a much-discussed treatise and the creator of a controversial theory. I had written several works of synthesis that were principally about other people's ideas. Now my own ideas had become the subject of praise, criticism, and debate. And while I preferred and still prefer not to be recognized on the street or at the airport, I gradually got used to the idea of assenting when asked if I were indeed Howard Gardner or Dr. Gardner or Professor Gardner or even the Howard Gardner. In some ways, I found my notoriety as a scholar and budding public intellectual satisfying. Though I don't think I had dreamed before about being a minor celebrity, that's not my inclination. It's admittedly gratifying to be known, to be invited to interesting conferences and parties in evocative settings, and to increase one's non-salaried income. In this book, I touch on some of these rewards. However, my primary motives for writing a memoir are different, and twofold. First, in our time, and especially in the United States, speakers and writers come to be associated with a particular idea. I've written 30 books and hundreds of articles, and have carried out dozens of research studies, but I am known, and concede that in all likelihood I will always be known, as the creator or father of multiple intelligences, MI. In no way do I renounce or regret having developed this theory. Indeed, I have spent some time working on it in the decades since I first introduced the ideas. Yet, by personality, temperament, and calling, I've never wanted to continue working only on MI ideas. I have, in fact, resented the contention that just because I developed the theory, I'm obligated to keep refining it and, even less alluringly, to keep defending it. Life is short. I have many other ideas and interests, and I deserve the option of turning my attention to them and not remaining a captive of MI theory. Also, while the idea of multiple intelligences has caught the attention of many individuals all over the world, there's no guarantee that they have understood the theory, and alas, my innumerable efforts over the years to discourage misunderstandings have not been notably successful. Moreover, while I rarely question the motives of those who wave the MI banner, they have sometimes deployed or refashioned the ideas in destructive ways. In fact, as detailed later in this book, the misuse in one case was so blatant that I had to denounce that abuse publicly. And that unhappy event has radically changed
Sample complete. Ready to continue?